So DELF A1 is the basic level, and then you have to do the A2 and then the B1. So I already did the A1 some years ago, so I couldn't further my studies to be able to get to A2, which is the next level. So this DELF A2 level is very important when you're applying for your long-term visa. As long as you're from an English-speaking country, you need to be able to prove your level of proficiency in French. So even if you don't have it, the government will send you to school to study to be able to pass this exam. And I also needed the next level, which is B1. If you're going to a higher level of job, you need a higher level of French proficiency if you're coming from an English-speaking country. So I said I'll go for the A2 and then later I'll go for the B1. So when my son finally had a place in the crèche, I was registered to go study A2 level of French proficiency, and the teacher invited me for a brief interview. She asked me certain things about my career. After the discussion, she said to me that you're not on A2 level, you're on B1 level. She said that when she speaks with people, she can tell their level of French proficiency. So for her, she doesn't know how I got to that level, but for her, I am above A2 level. So she said she's going to take me as a B1 level student. So she also informed me that there is a B1 exam coming in the next 5 months. And if I'm interested in the exam, I should inform her so she can put me through what to do to register the exam. I was a little bit afraid that I don't want to fail the exam. How can I go directly from A1 to B1? So she said I shouldn't worry, that we still have a few months before the exams. So she's going to see what me and the others on that same level can do before the exams. So she was asking us not to use our phones to do our classwork or homework. I mean, we should just make mistakes if we have to, and she's going to correct the mistakes. That it's better to make the mistakes and then correct it than go online to search for answers, because when they dealt the exams, you will not go online to search for answers. So she was asking us most times to write an article about what is going on in France about a particular thing. And honestly, I found out that it's more difficult to write in a language you don't know very well than to speak, because more often you hear the language you try to speak, but when it comes to writing and you're not using an autocorrect, then you'll find out that there are certain things that you're not too sure of, where to place the accents and all that. So she prepared us for the exams. So just some weeks to the exams, my son took ill, after which I took ill, and I didn't have the time to practice the way I should. I even missed classes some days, and I was so worried that how am I going to pass these exams? I almost cancelled the exams. I'd already gone far, I've already made all the registrations, I've even paid a little amount of money for it. And my husband said, okay, let's just try. It's better to write the exams and see what it looks like than to miss the exams. So I went there. The first day it was oral, and then I picked a question that had to do with ecology. So I just gave my point of view, and while I was doing that, I made a mistake because there was a word I wanted to pronounce. I didn't pronounce that word very well, and the examiner corrected me. So just because she corrected me, I felt I had failed. I became blocked somehow to speak. I paused for a while before I was able to continue, and when I left, I was so worried. I was not willing to go back for the next section of the exam, the part where you have to write, the part where you have to listen and answer some questions. So I was saying, why did I have to stress my husband and son for them to travel all the way for this exam, and then I'll have to make them travel with me for the second time when I'm not even sure about the first one? So if I had already failed the first one, the second one is going to be useless. But I wasn't even sure if I had failed or not. This was just my fears. When it was time for the second part, we went for it. So when the result came out, the parts where I thought I had failed, which was the oral, because in every section you're supposed to have minimum 17 over 25. I got 25 over 25. And the listening part was the part where I got low, I think 17 or 18 over 25. I was so shocked. Even my teacher was shocked. She has had many students go for that same exam. She has not had someone with 25 over 25 in the oral part. So she was surprised, and I just knew it was God, because I was too worried at the time. I just said, God, you know, I prepared so much for this exam. I tried my best, and there are things that are beyond my control. So I'm just leaving it for you. The point is that I succeeded in the exam. So I got my DELF B1 level of proficiency in French. So that B1 is a very good level for many things you want to do. Or you're applying for a job in France and you're in an English-speaking country. The best thing is for you to do that DELF exam in your country. Maybe you write DELF A1, A2, and B1 before applying for the job, because this will be a very good proof that you have a good level of proficiency in French. And if you use this to apply for a job, there are chances of you getting the job if they can't find someone that really fits that job over here in France. So that was how I got my DELF B1 level of proficiency. So it's very important for you to practice the language. Even if you feel you don't know too much, if you practice and you keep doing your personal study, you're going to be better in the language. Another way too that you're going to be more better in the language is when you study French in France, they use French to teach you. So you have no choice than to understand what they're saying. That's another way of learning.